reconvening from closed session with no reportable action. And can we please have the call, oh, I did the call to order. How about the roll call?
We need to do the call to order for the regular meeting.
Fine.
We close with the
Fine. I will adjourn the closed meeting and I will have the call to order to the regular meeting of the Lakeport City Council. Did I miss anything else? No reportable action. I'll just edit me in correctly. Make sure we're all here.
Okay, Councilmember Mattina. Here. Councilmember Parlett.
Here.
Councilmember Spur.
Present.
Councilmember Turner. Here. And Mayor Barnes.
Here. Tina. Please do the honors.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Scott, right? Acceptance of the agenda and urgency items. Do we have any urgency items? No. Do we have any, does anybody need to pull anything from the agenda?
With that, I would like to make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda. The following consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. 1A, waive the reading except by title of any ordinances under consideration at this meeting. Approve the minutes of the City Council regular meeting of October 22nd, 2019, the emergency meeting of October 31st, 2019, and the special joint meeting of October 31st, 2019. Approve the warrant register October 30, 2019. Confirm the continuing existence of a local emergency for the Mendocino Complex fire. Confirm the continuing existence of a local emergency for the February 2019 storms. Confirm the continuing existence of a local emergency for the October 2019 PSPS. Receive and file the draft minutes of the October 9, 2019 MZAC meeting. Authorize out-of-state travel for Officer Ryan Cooley to attend the Incident Response to Terrorist Bombings, IRTB, training course in Socorro, New Mexico.
I'm not sure where you're seeing the minutes of this joint meeting. I don't think they were on here.
Special minutes.
Is it on here?
Special minutes of joint meeting.
It's not in the agenda packet.
I didn't think it was. But it
It's on this here piece of paper.
Is it in the packet really quick? It's not on mine.
Well, I guess then I'm changing.
Let me go confirm and see what was.
I don't see it.
I don't see it. The minutes aren't in the packet.
It's not in the packet, is it?
She's
So
told
I will
that.
take that one back.
Yeah, take that back, please.
Take that back. So revising, approve the minutes of the City Council regular meeting of October 22nd, 2019, and the emergency meeting of October 31st, 2019. All right. Would council like to pull any items? Would the public like to pull any of those items? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Public presentations. Do we have any public input forms?
No, we don't.
Okay, so right now, if any person may speak for up to 3 minutes about any subject within the authority of the City Council, provided the subject is not already on tonight's agenda. Is there anybody who would like to speak about anything not already on the agenda? All right, seeing none, I will move into council business. Community Development Director, Fire District Training, Burns.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, fellow council members. Really quickly, just some background. If you recall, about a year and a half ago, we made some slight amendments to the municipal code, changing the date in which hazardous weeds and dry vegetation needed to be abated on property. We changed that to June 1st from its previous July date. At that discussion, there was some direction given to staff about exploring some other possible ordinance revisions aimed at reducing wildfire hazard risks. Over the past couple months, the City of Lakeport has been working with the Lakeport Fire Protection District and the Lake County Air Quality Management District and interested citizens at looking at some possible amendments to the ordinance to look at possibly amending the current complete prohibition on outdoor burning and providing some instances to allow some burning on properties 1 acre in size or greater, similar to what's permitted in the unincorporated areas of the county. And then, but looking at some protections, given that we are a more densely populated area than some of the other areas in the county, of including some mitigations of smoke impacts and also some additional review by the Lakeport Fire Protection District. However, in those meetings, we've kind of also been discussing the possibility of doing some test sort of burns on this to see what the impacts to the community would be. So before we go ahead and make a formal amendment, I mean, obviously at some point this ordinance was put in place to ban it citywide for some purpose. So we wanted to kind of see, you know, what sort of impacts, what kind of complaints we get. I mean, when we do the burn to the dam structure out there on at the wastewater treatment plant, we do quite a bit of public outreach and stuff, and we do the same here. But we're kind of looking at maybe this winter doing a couple of test burns supervised by the Lakeport Fire Protection District prior to making any formal amendments to the ordinance. Some potential areas that we looked at would be the Fire Protection District's property there on Lariku. It's right there by the Vista Point Shopping Center. It's a large parcel there. Potentially the property at 1842 Todd Road. That's a 15-acre parcel. They're adjacent to KFC. And then also there's a group of property owners, larger properties that are on the north side of 11th Street that I believe Frank Deloso is here this evening representing them. He's come in and spoke to you guys in public comment a couple times about some of the issues that they've encountered trying to deal with their vegetation on those large properties. So that was kind of, we wanted to kind of get the pulse of the council on what they thought of that approach prior to making any formal amendments to the municipal code. So I know that the fire chief is here this evening. He's available for any questions. He's been on these meetings, and then obviously Frank Deloso is also here, who's also been involved in this process as well.
There's also a fire board member here also.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Any questions from council? Any comment from the public? Chief, would you like to say anything about this?
I think Kevin and Frank have done a really good job of getting this going. It's been, I don't want to say long overdue, but the burn ban has been in effect within city limits for 10, 12 years now, 15 years. And in that time period.
Chief, would you like to come up so you'd be on the recording for the minutes?
Just a disembodied voice.
He's trying to avoid us.
Council members, I'm your interim fire chief for Ferguson. And as I was saying, the burn ban's been in effect within the city limits for 10 years or better, but no burning has been allowed, and it's been made it pretty difficult for homeowners and stuff to keep their lots clear because of the cost and the expense. In that time frame, the fuel loads have just really expanded within the city limits, and you know, this is just another tool to be able to go in there and help the property owners potentially clear their lots and stuff. Of course, the bigger ones and stuff, and possibly even some of the smaller ones that we designated as training burns, where the fire district can go in there and clear some of these dense fuel-loaded properties. Give the city a much greater chance if we do get a fire to comes close to us again.
Thank you. Come on, Frank.
Frank Deloso, I live on 11th Street, and I came up here before and want to thank everyone for working on this, and Kevin, the fire chief, and air quality and stuff. I'm on one property that's 5.5 acres. My two other neighbors, 5 acres, so in 5 acres, so between us, 15 acres. I know I kind of made this here before, which is kind of refresh the memory. And what brought this on was when we bought the place, it was because of the ban, the person did not cut anything and try to do anything. So when we cut everything, it was a lot. It was dump truck loads and dump truck loads and dump truck loads out of there of green waste. You couldn't give me enough green bins for it. But we have everything, like on our property, and I know my neighbor's properties worked hard just to keep everything clear. But like on my property, I have about 18 oak trees. I got other trees on there that are not, like cottonwoods and stuff like that. And there's just a lot of stuff to try to keep trimmed, and you still couldn't give me enough green waste bins to get rid of all of it. And so I think this would be a good, in my opinion anyways, and I think if it's done properly, if we're burning it properly, I don't think there's gonna really be a huge impact. There's not that many properties in the city that would be impacted by it. But I think with the smoke management plan, and the ability for like even the chief to say, hey, we're having a parade in town, today's not gonna be a burn day for city residents, I think that's great. So I want to thank everyone for working on that, and please consider this, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, just to kind of echo, I think Frank echoes what we've heard quite a bit at our public counter when we've been doing the hazardous weed abatement program. A lot of the feedback we get is a lot of people want to comply, but they have larger parcels, and the burden of chipping or getting somebody to weed whack the entire thing or limb up different things is pretty cost prohibitive. So I mean, I think there are a number of properties in there that would benefit from this, that want to do the right thing. It's because of the size of their properties and the amount of vegetation on there, they're kind of hamstrung a little bit on the tools that they have available to them right now.
Sure. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council.
One question I had, if we go through with this and we get certain days we can burn and all this stuff, are we going to do any kind of public outreach to say, there's going to be a burn on this day, so if you see smoke in this area, don't get alarmed type thing?
No, I think that'd be an absolutely good deal. I mean, we do that when we do the burn activities out there on our dam property at the wastewater treatment plant. We always get some public notification out there. I think even there we have a signboard present too. So I'm not sure how far we'll go on that for each individual burn, but yes, I think certainly we can make sure that there's some public notification, especially the first few of these.
Right, because I mean everybody's kind of gun shy at this point, having
We've
fires every year.
And that was
or something on it so that community doesn't.
That was precisely one of our reasoning for doing these training ones this winter. Is I mean, we can monitor those really closely, working with Rick and his department, and make sure that there's public notification on those, and then just kind of see what kind of feedback we get before we make formal amendments.
Okay, sounds good.
And I really like the idea with all the fires that we have been having, stripping the fuel out for it to burn is probably a good idea. If something does happen in one of our outlying properties, catches fire, it's not sitting in the middle of a powder keg,
And that's one of the things we've looked at. I mean, if you look at a map of the city, I mean, most of the properties that are of the acre size or more are on the fringe outside, the western boundary areas. However, there are a few properties that are an acre or more that are surrounded, more closer in town, and that's why one of the kind of things we've been looking at is something that's more that having an actual review not an automatic approval just because you're 1 acre or more. There'd be a review for whether it's an appropriate site by both air quality and the fire district.
So I'd just like to say that I appreciate Frank bringing that to us, but the whole deal is that we've had this for 10 years, and even the interim chief seems to think this is a good idea, but you know, the old ways are not always, I mean, the really old ways were good. We were burning all the time, and now we've gotten away from it, and now we can see the consequences of not taking care of business, and I want to congratulate staff for moving forward and trying to look at this in a way, because as you said, a lot of people want to do the right thing, but I think Frank was talking about some ungodly number of loads, like 30 or 50 or something, where he was going back down there and to do the right thing cost him a veritable fortune just to do the right thing. And by making it possible for someone to move it in and do the right thing, I think is going to be a lot better for all of us and make it a lot safer place. So, and Lord knows you get the edges burning near 11th Street, it comes right into town. So, yeah, it's not a good thing. So,
I think a big piece of congratulations also goes to Frank, who I know has done a lot of the footwork on this. He was talking to me quite a while ago, and I'm like, well, come to a council meeting and bring it up, and now we're looking at reinstituting it. So that's you know, making the point of all of this is coming and making it work. So good on you, man. Good job, and good job to staff. Thank you. If there's nothing else from council, I would entertain a motion.
I don't
You're
know,
not
just
motioning?
providing direction.
Writing direction.
I would
You can do that
entertain
via-
direction.
You can do that via motion and second,
You do it as motion.
to provide that direction as listed.
See,
So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we please direct staff to continue to work with the fire district and the air quality district on revisions to our Lakeport Municipal Code pertaining to outdoor burning, including supervised burns this winter by the Lakeport Fire Protection District.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Margaret?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. On October 31st, last Thursday, we had a joint meeting with the Board of Supervisors, the City of Clear Lake City Council, and the City of Lakeport Council to review the PSPS that had happened, more than one, in the month of October. And at the end of the meeting, it was a letter was voted on by the three bodies to move forward to the CPUC in regards to the PG&E PSPS. We didn't have time to do a staff report because we had to come quickly from that meeting and get this on the agenda that afternoon. But it's basically what they want to do is to create an ad hoc committee to follow up. This one letter will go out, but we do want to keep on the CPUC and follow up on PG&E with this PSPS and our legislators and keep moving this forward. So what they asked was for 2 members of each body and whatever staff is needed to continue this ad hoc committee. So tonight we're asking to get 2 council members appointed to this ad hoc committee if the council so chooses to do that.
Thank you. So is there anybody who would like to be on this ad hoc committee? I won't just throw anybody under the bus.
Well, I would say it's a great opportunity that the 2 cities and the county got
Absolutely.
together and met. And I'd love to be a part of that collaboration of the 3 of us working together on something.
I would too.
Wonderful. Any opposition to that, guys?
Nope, done.
All right, and staff.
We just need to have the council appointed, and then if you can direct me to either myself or someone I appoint to be a part of the ad hoc committee.
Wouldn't mind seeing Kevin get in
Or my appointee.
How sweet is that?
So we don't need a motion or anything. I'm just going to state that I appoint Stacy.
You can take public input and then do it by motion.
Okay, yeah. Any public input on this matter? I'm sorry, I had a root canal yesterday. And,
Mayor Barnes and council members, I'd like to thank you for taking the time last week and coming together as one Lake County group. I think that was really important to show PG&E and CPUC. I just would like to let you know that today the Board of Supervisors picked their 2 members, but we also picked an alternate, just to make sure that we had somebody. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. If you need an alternate, I'll be your alternate.
Sounds good, with George as an alternate. Any other public comment? All right, then I will bring it back to council and entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to have Stacy Latina and Maria Turner as our representatives on the CPUC discussion, and me as the alternate.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. City Council Communications, Margaret.
And no further comment. I just while I have people make a comment, I make sure that we're having a council meeting, a special council meeting on the 12th to approve a seawall contract. We have a very short window for the construction of that, so that we can get that fence
We're
out.
not actually going to do that, are we?
Yeah, so I just wanted
Might
to
actually have the fence gone by next summer.
remind you that, it should be a very, very brief meeting.
What time is that?
It's, what time did you set it for?
We haven't said it yet, but
Okay.
normally we would just do 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Like this one.
6 o'clock meeting, okay. So just a reminder that's coming up, so. Everybody's
Thank you.
available. Thank you.
So 6 o'clock on the 12th?
On the 12th. Yes, hooray, we got
Hooray.
that moving, and
Awesome.
can't wait to get that,
Awesome. I can't
that
wait for
fence
summer.
and the sidewalk out and the sidewalk repaired and
It'll be so
where
awesome.
you see wall is, so. anyway, thank you.
Meeting?
No report, thank you.
Doug.
No report.
Nick.
No report.
Chief.
Just a couple of things with the PSPS. We got delayed on putting out our public release for follow-up on our prescription take-back day, but we got that out today, and we had a good response and collected close to 50 pounds of pills. And the reason I think I mentioned it and think it's important is a lot of those pills were opiates. And it's not stuff that we want to have out there and available. Not to mention, just today we found out that a batch of pills that we recovered on an arrest earlier this year that we thought were oxycodone pills actually came back from the lab as containing fentanyl. And for the last 2 years, we've been putting out warnings about the dangers of these illicit manufactured pills where they're being manufactured as opiates, but the manufacturers are putting fentanyl in there, and sometimes they get too large of an amount and it's immediately fatal. So you don't know what you're taking, and some pills might get no fentanyl in it, others might get a larger portion when you're manufacturing them in non-controlled, non-laboratory environments. So we now know that we have recovered off our streets illicit pills containing fentanyl, and that's a dangerous thing. So we want to, try to get more public education out about it to hopefully people will not take these things, because 2 milligrams of fentanyl is fatal. And that's a very small amount. So the other thing I was going to mention is also I didn't write the staff report on the out-of-state travel, but I don't know if we mentioned we're also working jointly with the fire department and having a firefighter go to that same class with Officer Cooley, and it's actually a train-the-trainer class that we come back and be able to give other officers and firefighters training on responding to potential explosive devices that if we have any. So thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Kevin.
Tomorrow evening, we have our second public workshop for the 11th Street Corridor Planning Project. And they're actually going to be, the first meeting a couple months back was kind of establishing a lot of the issues out there. The consultants are going to be bringing some potential solutions to kind of review and push forward. So if that's at 6 to 8 right here in the City Council chambers tomorrow evening. So everybody's invited.
Thank you. Kelly?
I wanted to let the council know that there will be a press release going out probably tomorrow for the appointments to the various vacancies on the committees and commissions. While that was discussed at the last council meeting with the PSPS, we didn't think a whole lot of people would be reading the press release. Like, we were just afraid it would get missed. So we held off and we'll be putting that out shortly.
Thank you. Councilmember Turner?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Councilmember Medina?
I just want to say that we're working on the Dickens Festival a little bit today, and that is moving forward, and I'm excited about it. It should look something similar, probably bigger and better than last year. Yeah, so I know the PSPS was a bit tiring on everyone, so something to look forward to.
Yeah, that'll be good. Councilmember Bartlett?
So you might be sorry that I took over the mic here, but in my travels over the last couple of weeks and enduring sleeping at the store on the floor for 3 days and then again for 5 days, and I've had conversations with all kinds of vendors, my feeling is that, like mostly everybody in this room and most of my customers, they come in and you go, wow, that was really something. We didn't have any power. I lost some frozen food, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to give a little impactful information about what retailers and restaurant people have had happen to them. One case, Riviera Foods, between $80,000 and $90,000 frozen food in the garbage. No insurance coverage because it's a planned power outage. $90,000. Now, if he does $10 million a year in sales, he makes 1 cent on the dollar. That's $100,000. Almost all of that's gone, but to prevent further loss, he went out and bought a mega generator for maybe $30,000, $40,000. So now all of his profits for the whole year, if he does 10 million, I don't know exactly what it is, that's all gone. But he's a big guy and he does really well out there. But I talked to Chris at Red and White, who's been threatening to close up. And during the power outage, the first outage, because a lot of us didn't think it was going to happen, $6,800 just in losses. Not to mention, he does $12,000 in those 2 days in business. All gone. He's just a little guy in a little town trying to stay alive, and the lights are out, and he lost all that. Now, the people are worried about their TV, and they can't watch Netflix. Here's a guy that's hanging on a razor's edge of staying in business. He went out and got a generator. Gary Nylander, just like I did, slept in the parking lot in an RV for 5 days because these neighborhoods are not like Lakeport to do that, and they got a generator, and they saved as much as they could. But this stuff is huge to us. You know, Nylanders were in business when I got here 50 years ago, and they are on the edge of being forced out of business by these ridiculous, we were postulating 100-mile-an-hour winds. I woke up Tuesday morning when they were going to turn it back on, which would have saved us all of our losses practically, because it was only like a 48-hour thing. With 6-mile-an-hour winds, it was a beautiful day to go sailing, fishing, do anything except walk in and out of the store with a flashlight and thousands of pounds of ice to try and save my stuff. Meanwhile, Glenn Winkie has 3 different restaurant locations, and he had the restaurant over here, and he figures his losses all told are between $50,000 and $55,000. He spent over $10,000 on generators, one of which was stolen. And while we had our generators out, we had 2 people try and steal our generators. But the big one is our good friends at the grocery outlet. They lost over $250,000 in sales in the 5 days. I mean, most of us are going in and out of our houses worrying about, bitching about, you know, we don't have any ice cubes or whatever. These people are like losing so much money. Somebody was on the radio the other day saying, oh, well, they don't sell the meat. You know, they'll just sell it when they reopen. I talked to Jeff about that. He said we lost $10,000, between $7,000 and $10,000 worth of meat, because when we got it in, it has a short code on it. All our produce came in, all my produce, all Riviera Foods produce. Comes in 5 days later, it goes in the dumpster, every single bit of it. And there's no markup, there's nothing, and there's no insurance. You know, you're not going to get the money back, it's just gone. And this is a 1% industry. And then I talked to a guy today. He knew a guy that had 40 to 60, this is Mireya's along her line, 50 to 60 acres of Chardonnay grapes. Needed to be processed now. And then 5 days later, toast. Absolute total loss after months and months of preparation and work. Another guy had vats and vats of Syrah in the press. Power went down, total loss. Worldmark, 8 people in the resort out of 88 rooms. And it hasn't come back. It just goes on and on and on. I drove by today, there was 12 cars. Everything's beautiful, the weather's beautiful, but this is far more devastating than the average person understands. I mean, they think, oh man, this was a real inconvenience, man. I mean, I couldn't charge my cell phone. I mean, our lives are being toyed with like it's nothing. I've worked 50 years of my life when I opened that store right next door in this parking lot, and I am in danger of being run out of business. When I pay $70,000 a year or more in PG&E, they can't guarantee me that I can get it back on in 2 days. I just want everybody to know the gravity of this, and there's people all over out there that maybe even had it worse than that. But these are just some of the highlights of this. I don't know about Highway Grocery down there. Chris, they almost had it, Chris and Pat almost had it sold, and then boom, gone. 6 days, all that business is gone. We were open every day with flashlights and doing hot dog sales and taco feeds and all that stuff. We were doing like 40% of what we normally do, because the big stores, we got the generators, and there they go in there, and then we're left for dead. And so when the lights come back on, the guys over at Home Depot and Mendo Mill and all those people that were able to sell all that stuff, good for them. But there's a lot of people out there that are hanging by a thread. And as someone said, Fresh and Bangin' was like questionable. And then I heard George said that Skylark Shores was hurting. I already mentioned the minimum wage, where their prices on minimum wage has gone up 40%. Now they're closed down completely. So I want people to be sensitive to the fact that there's people out there that are suffering so much more than you are with not having your ice cubes and your ice cream keeping for over the days, and you had to run out and get a generator. I will tell you, I put my stuff in the freezer, and everything I put in the freezer, just so for your edification, 5 days later, the stuff I took out of the freezer, I could not cut that with a saw. So if you fill your freezers up, it's not such a big deal. But when you can't get it in those frozen food places and you have no place to store it like we do, Jeff had a 53-foot trailer. He filled it full of ice cream, filled it full of frozen food. He still needed another one, lost it all. He spent over $12,000 on dry ice to save his frozen food. Still had mega losses. So these people that are always out there generously supporting all of our causes, they're getting hurt really, really bad. And nobody really seems to understand, and a lot of people don't even seem to care. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because a lot of people are just like, hey man, this is a bummer. But no, it's a real bummer. Our lives could be changed forever. My wife even told us that this could be the worst thing that's ever happened to us in our lives. And we have no control over it. None. So, sorry about that. But I just think that this is something that maybe you don't know.
You're not alone. At last Thursday's meeting, we had a lot of testimony of people that were and then there's a lot of written testimony that's going in with the letter too. This is very serious for our small businesses. Totally understand.
Ones that are left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go for it, George.
I'll follow that, George.
Well, it was a nice day today. No comment.
Thank you, George. Yeah, I think Kenny brings up a really important, something we need to shift into. Lake County being what it is, and I think a lot of us are already going that way because it is the community we live in. We need to make sure now more than ever to shop local. We need to be hitting our little local stores. We need to be going, go out to eat. And I know for a lot of people it's hard, but go out to eat one more time this month. Where you can, if you can. If you can swing it, go out and have dinner out one more night. It could help some of these guys recoup some losses. And if everybody in Lake County did that, we might be able to help get our neighbors back up to where they need to be. Buy an extra steak. What do you have your biggest markup on? Buy that.
Turkeys now.
Turkeys, yeah. So yeah, it's just time for us to, I don't know, having been in business here, I always found that the community came out and supported me when I needed it, and I supported the community when I needed it, when they needed me. And I know this will be a time where our community steps up and supports those small businesses, and I encourage them all to do that like they have in the past. With that, I will close this meeting.
Yeah, I had a last one.